This is the hardest decision I've ever had to make, but maybe showing my journey will help others remember who they are. We are not defined by our circumstances. I know you have a bucket list, and so do I. So scared or not, let's take back control of our own destiny because we are worth it.
Hey guys, Happy New Year. Today is my 6-month Ampiversary and I am so excited to tell you my complete timeline from CHOP to today. Since I've made hundreds of new friends in the past couple of months, hey new friends! Next week I'm sharing my complete story of what happened to me, why I gave up on other surgeries, what made me decide to amputate, as well as how I planned my out-of-town surgery with childcare for my little bitty kids. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and follow me so you don't miss it. Okay, on to the good stuff and why I only had my carbon fiber socket for 26 days before I had to have it replaced. I'm going to cover each step of the process with a timeline up above so that you can follow along with footage from each step of the way. After arranging childcare for my 2 little kids for 1 week or more, depending on how long we stayed, which I'll cover how I did that next week, my husband and I flew to Oklahoma City on June 30th, the day before my pre-op. We stayed in a hotel that night, and on July 1st was my pre-op appointment. And this is where I had a chance to ask all of my questions to my surgeon, Dr. Ertl. I also had to give blood work and take a COVID test. My elective below-the-knee amputation was July 2nd, 2021. And even though I'm talking about it excited today, I did nothing but cry from the entire time we landed, all through pre-op, all through the surgery morning, checking into the hospital, all of that. I was bawling, absolutely bawling. So much so that after Dr. Ertl saw me that morning, again, right before surgery, he had the team take me back to the prep area where the anesthesiologist gave me that magic shot to make it all go away, and I just fell into this deep sleep, and I don't know how long I was there until surgery started because I was asleep. After a 4-hour surgery, I slept for almost 24 hours before starting any sort of physical therapy. On Sunday, July 4th, 2 days after amputation, I had my catheter removed and started getting around on my own. I forced myself to get up and use the bathroom on my own instead of using the bedside commode because I knew that when I got home, I would have to learn how to do that anyway, so I might as well start now. On Monday, July 5th, I started walking on a walker, learning how to stand up and sit down from the bed, as well as maneuvering the stairs under the watch of the PT staff. We left the hospital on July 6th, 4 days after surgery, and stayed in a hotel until my post-op evaluation on July 7th. Here, Dr. Ertl saw my incision and determined everything was great. It was even starting to be a little bit black at that time, but he said that he was pleased with everything and that we were released to go home. I also received my transportation device and we shopped for a board to prop my leg up on through the entire duration of the transportation. So in the car ride to the airport, in the wheelchair all day, in the airplane, I wanted my leg to have something to rest on while we were traveling so that I didn't have to hold it up the entire time. We called ahead to the airport for full handicap transportation. My husband and I then flew home to our kids on July 8th, 6 days after surgery. Flying home went well. I was tired and scared, but all in all, we were able to navigate safely until we got home. This is where the reality truck smacked us right in our face. I had to get up the stairs and into bed. Even though we had practiced this, it did not go well.
Plant this foot. Ready? 1.
No. Can you move this out of the way?
1, 2, 3.
I can't! I've had to overcome a lot of trials of how to learn new things as well as deal with my own insecurities. Over the next few weeks, I spent it in bed and we ate prepared meals given to us by our family and friends, which I will cover in next week's video of how we prepared for all of this. I also learned how to navigate the shower and the potty using a walker. I was not released to use a knee scooter or an iWalk until after my bone bridge was healed. So during those 4 weeks of waiting for my stitches to be removed after I got home until my stitches were removed, I only used a walker or a wheelchair. I hear that question a lot of when can I be released to use a knee scooter or an iWalk, and under my professional advice to me, it was not until that is healed enough to bear weight and pressure, because it's still healing and you don't want to move bones around or put any pressure on things that aren't supposed to have pressure on them yet. So I stayed upstairs for several weeks. I think it ended up being about 4 weeks that I just stayed upstairs, didn't come down, and just left my leg elevated the entire time and did a whole lot of work on the computer. My last day of narcotic pain medication was July 11th, which was 9 days after surgery. And I know that sounds pretty quick, but I'm the type of person that would rather suffer a little bit and have some pain rather than deal with the side effects of medication, if you know what I mean. My prosthetist is John Hadding in Virginia, and he is the best in the world, in my opinion. He has something crazy like 40 or 50 years experience, and it shows. He is absolutely incredible at his job. He even has a Facebook page for amputees, and I will link that group down below in case you want to check that out. He's the one who removed my stitches on August 3rd, 4 weeks after surgery. At this time, he did not like the way that the bottom stitches looked and suggested that I leave them in another 2 weeks. At 6 weeks post-op, I returned to his office to have those stitches removed, but he was very discouraged at the way that they looked. He was worried about my leg opening up at the bottom. He said, "These are not healed. We absolutely need to get you bigger help for this." We're at a prosthetist office. If my leg opens up on his table, he doesn't really have a way to help me at that point. I need to go to the hospital. I need to see a surgeon to have these removed. So he calls in a favor to his friend, Dr. Addinger, who is also, I guess, this world-renowned surgeon, and he works at Georgetown University Hospital in Washington, D.C. Dr. Addinger removed my stitches, and we drove home the 3 hours. He said to put a vinegar wrap on it. He wasn't sure what it was going to do, but we were going to go home and hope for the best. The next morning was pretty scary. My leg had completely opened up. I had about 1 inch worth of flesh at the bottom that was a crater. And then there was, I don't know how much of the inside was closed up. I'm guessing probably about that much. So my leg did not expose bone, meat, or tissue, but the top half of it looked like this with all of this meaty tissue in here that was bright yellow. And I can't show you the footage of that because of its graphic nature, but if you want to watch it, I'll link it above. Dr. Addinger is so kind. He gave me his personal cell phone number in case of emergencies, and he told me to call if I had anything come up. I texted him a picture of my leg and I said, "Does this look okay? Does this look normal?" And he didn't respond. So I thought, no news is good news. The people all around me were very worried, very scared, told me to go to the emergency room. So I gave it that day. I slept. I woke up the next day. Now it was starting to turn black, almost like scabs. So I sent him another picture. Now it's neon yellow and black, very scary looking, very chunky, almost like cottage cheese, neon yellow cottage cheese. You guys gotta watch the video if you like disgusting things. But he called me and he said, "This looks great. It looks healthy. You're doing everything right. I called you in a prescription just as a precautionary measure for antibiotics. But the problem is your leg is not going to heal in a way that is going to allow suction. If it heals with that crater at the end of your leg, you might have trouble getting suction in your socket. We need to cut it out and close it and make it nice and pretty." So that's what we did. We scheduled a surgery, and on August 10th, we drove up to have my surgery revision. I was sent home that very same day with a wound vac. And I was also told that if this didn't help, if this didn't change the situation, I would be facing an amputation revision. So I did everything perfectly. My husband was halfway through his leave of absence from work and we could not afford to go through another amputation, besides the fact that I didn't want to go through that again. 1 week after my surgery, I went to his office and he took the wound vac off. That was a very scary day for me because I didn't know what I was facing when they removed that wound vac, but he was so pleased with it that he removed the staples as well. During the next 2 weeks of waiting for my stitches to heal and my wound to heal, I found myself getting very depressed and also very anxious and almost in a state of regret. Everything hit me during that 2 weeks. I am at this point 8 weeks post amputation. I've already had my second surgery. I'm doubting my body. I'm mad at my body that it didn't fix the first time and I had to have a second surgery. And it's all just really hitting me. I still can't really go anywhere. It's hard to move up and down the stairs and be a part of my family's lives. I have to eat dinner by myself in bed. It's just kind of a really sad, lonely time. So if and when that hits, reach out to somebody. Reach out to your family, your friends. Reach out to another amputee, maybe on the group that I was talking about. Ask how to work through those emotions because when it hits, it kind of hits hard. I desperately craved independence, so I tried to maneuver downstairs on my rear end all the way down the stairs, and I got in a wheelchair and tried to make dinner in my wheelchair, and I only made it about halfway through and gave up. My husband had to come finish. I had to go sit on the couch and elevate my leg. It just wasn't going well. So around the end of August, I decided that I was gonna try to drive instead. I figured I can prop my leg up the whole time and I don't really have to go anywhere or do anything once I'm in the car. So I hopped out on the walker and I got in the car and I took my son to the library and to the grocery store. But I quickly realized that I have to make this a little bit fast because if I have to use the restroom while we're out, it's not going to be an easy thing to do. On September 1st, 2 months after my initial amputation, I went back to Dr. Addinger's office and he removed my stitches, he took x-rays of my leg, and he released me for a prosthesis. This is a huge day. This is the day that you get your life back as an amputee, and it's exciting and it needs to be celebrated. I was put in a test prosthesis that can be manipulated as my limb changes. It needs to be expanded or shrunk down depending on what my leg does. I had an incredibly large limb at the time, and since I had the Ertl procedure, which gives me a working calf muscle and a bone bridge, we weren't sure if my leg would actually grow in muscle mass or if it would atrophy like most below the knee amputee limbs do. I stayed in my test socket for 5 weeks learning to walk and eventually getting comfortable enough to start working again as a hairstylist. I'm starting to take back my role as complete caregiver of my home, standing on my feet a lot. I'm able to start taking the kids to their appointments as well as making all the meals, cleaning, and the laundry. I still need help sometimes at this point. I can't walk all day long like I'd like to. I still have to rest, take my leg off at the 3-hour nap time for the toddler, elevate it, make sure everything is okay before I start again in the evening. At this point, I'm only wearing my leg for about 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the evening, and then the rest of the time, I'm kind of trying to take it easy a little bit. Over the next few weeks in the fall, I get really brave. I take the kids and we go to the zoo. We also do the pumpkin patch and we walk during Halloween. These were all so incredibly painful before the amputation that if I even tried to attempt them, I would normally come home crawling during that evening and then spend the next day or 2 on the couch trying to recover and get the pain under control. I'm now 4 months post-op and we determined that we've done all the changes we need to do in my test socket, and I am ready for my carbon fiber socket, and I go get it on November 2nd and 3rd. The first day was creating the socket, and the second day was all of the fitting, adjusting, and learning how to use my new socket. I walked in the parking lot, on grass, on the treadmill. I rode a bike, I climbed stairs, and other real life situations before signing off on it and leaving his office. I was under the impression that I would have this socket for several months. I probably wouldn't need another one for 6 or 8 months. But over the course of a couple days, my limb shrunk so much that I was completely end bearing, putting all of my weight on my little bone on my limb, causing extreme pain. So I called the office and they said, you need to put on socks. So I put on a bunch of socks so that my leg would be held by the sides of the socket rather than the end of my limb. After 26 days of working hard on my new carbon fiber socket and feeling like I have my life back, I have to give it up and go back to my test socket. I had shrunk so much, my diameter had deteriorated over an inch, and I was wearing up to 17 ply socks every day just to keep the pain from hitting the end of my limb and making my socket hold the sides. It was way too big at this point because of all the activity that I had done. It can be dangerous to wear anything past a 10 ply amount of socks. So on December 2nd, I gave up my socket and I got put into my test socket, which I'm in now. Since being put back in my test socket only a few weeks ago, I have had to go back a second time to adjust my test socket, make it a lot smaller, and even since that second adjustment just a couple weeks ago, I am still adding socks. So my limb is continuing to atrophy and continue to change. But I have been successfully wearing my prosthesis 15 hours every day. I'm on my feet all day long. I am busy with the kids. I'm doing hair for several hours a day. I'm making all the meals again. I'm running all of the errands. Nothing is holding me back, and I don't have pain. I don't have a fear of going to stand up and having that awful, dreadful pain that I used to have. And when I'm walking, I don't have a fear of tripping and falling anymore. I feel stable, I feel secure, and I don't have that pain. I'm a little sketchy still on stairs. I still take those a little bit slow, but I'm learning how to navigate those things. My goal, my main goal in 2022 is to run. That's something that I haven't done in over 11 years now. I probably could do it right now, but I still feel a little bit sketchy because I'm in my test socket. But I have the All Pro foot, and the All Pro foot is a blade, and it is meant for high activity and short running distances. But because I haven't run in over 11 years, I've completely forgotten how. I've tried a couple of times, but I feel like a brand new baby calf in heels. It's just not going well. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that you found value in it. If you did, please share it with somebody who's going through their own journey. Maybe they can find value in it also. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you on the next video where I talk about my entire history and story of what happened to me, how I planned the amputation, and how we got through it. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will see you on the next video.